Humans, we furless, clawless, blunt-toothed animals are the only species that has managed to adapt to every climate on Earth. In every climate, even the most extreme, humans have found ways to thrive. So while most species evolved to occupy very specific environments, we humans had a powerful evolutionary advantage that allowed us to adapt to any terrestrial environment. And what's more, we outcompeted all earlier, more physically robust forms of human species that instead fell to extinction. And we not only outcompeted them and outsurvived them, we flourished. It is the same uniquely human adaptation that makes us the only species on the planet to alter and act upon our natural environment to such an extent that it allowed for unprecedented population growth in all of these climates. Yes, statistically speaking, overall as a species, we even outproliferate every bacterial strain and insect species. And that is no small feat. So what is this wonderfully strange evolutionary brew giving we humans such dominance in even the harshest of climates for millennia? Our exceptional intelligence and interconnectedness, culminating in our unparalleled social learning ability. And it's worth noting that this dominance of humans happened in complete absence of any formalized education. Human survival and proliferation arose simply from our significant intelligence and our innate honed capacity for social learning and innovation. Now, as we lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers for 99.9% of human existence, it is that way of life and those environmental forces that shaped how we evolved to become such natural learners. But you may be thinking, we're no longer living in hunter-gatherer societies. How then does this innate social learning ability translate to the skills we need today? Well, it does because we have always used our intelligence to learn the skills relevant to our lives. In fact, we've evolved to do this. It's innate, truly human nature to do so. And given that we've used the same social learning ability to adapt to a variety of climates, topographies, cultures, and economies throughout the ages, we can certainly rely on our innate learning potential to adapt and accommodate any changes that we'll encounter as a species. As long as our natural learning potential is nurtured and allowed to thrive. Now here comes the big problem. Our mainstream models of education were designed based on a successful example of operant conditioning, not on how we evolved to learn best. Ever heard of the Prussian Empire? Know how it became an empire, apart from King Frederick's raging ambition? Well, poor King Freddie initially had a very hard time convincing his first army of independent farmers to fight for him. When battle time came, they'd take off home to their families rather than stay and lay down their lives for someone else's ambition. But then, King Freddie got an idea. He co-opted the Lutheran schools of his day and created the hierarchical education system upon which our present-day model is set. Children were removed from their natural, real-world environments and mandated to go to these schools, where curricular areas were deliberately segmented and taught separately from one another. But more importantly, he used this system to inculcate the young population with the idea of king and country before family, essentially laying the groundwork for one of the most effective armies of his day. And so, the Prussian Empire was born. Now, if this all sounds a bit like a dystopian storyline, it's for good reason. King Frederick's compulsory public schooling was the opposite of being good for the children and was specifically designed to subjugate his people quickly and efficiently. Thankfully, not all subsequent public school systems had such nefarious objectives. but it couldn't help but come to the attention of those who chose to look into the Prussian model, just how effectively the system accomplished its expressed aims. And it's largely due to its success that this model of education eventually spread throughout the rest of Europe and into North America. When the father of American public schooling, Horace Mann, was looking into designing public schools for the US, he was very impressed with the efficacy of the Prussian model. He got around the sticky issue of subjugation of the people by rationalizing that in America, this system could be used to educate the population for their own good. The idealized notion, according to those in power at the time, of their own good being to educate all American immigrants and indigenous people to be what he referred to as scientific thinkers with good Christian values, paving the way for the American melting pot approach to homogenizing rather than embracing and celebrating its multi-ethnic, diverse population. Now, this clearly points to another pitfall of the Prussian model. It's effective at inculcating its students with ideas that those in charge of the schools espouse and want to promote, but not designed to nurture our natural, free-thinking learning abilities. And on a darker note, the Prussian model of education is effective at instilling such ideals because it manipulates our evolved sense of innate trust of people we depend upon, a trust necessary for our interdependent-based survival for millennia. And unfortunately, it is the same trust of people we depend upon that also makes us susceptible to the same kinds of manipulation that made the Prussian model so efficient and effective at conditioning an entire population. And it is the same manipulation of trust and interdependence that has helped propagate the atrocities committed in the name of ideals throughout history, as well as those that are being committed today. Our biggest strength as a species is our amazing intelligence and interconnectedness, learning from lived experiences the life and social skills necessary for survival, as well as for creating the arts and sciences that help propel and shape multitudes of unique cultures and societies. Yet for the last 300 years, we've removed children from their natural, real-world environments and placed them in education systems that are in direct opposition to how we've evolved to learn best. A system that, studies show, year on year, actually reduces children's intellectual risk-taking, problem-solving, lateral, and creative thinking abilities. And the amazing ability we humans have to alter and act upon our natural environment has led to alarming environmental issues, such as pollution and climate change. These are big problems that need to be solved, and urgently. But the good news is that there are alternatives to mainstream education, viable ones, education systems like Finland's, designed on maximizing our amazing human ability to learn and grow, and resulting year after year in Finland's high school students achieving the highest marks in the world. If you haven't yet explored Finland's educational reforms and their spectacular results, please do. In broad strokes, Finland's education system is based exclusively on how children learn best, from a place of interest and relevance and at their own pace. Preschool is free and goes up to age 6. Children don't even enter grade school until age 7, where they're encouraged to learn at their own pace and aren't labeled with inabilities because they don't meet unfounded age-related academic milestones. The only tests they take are their high school final exams, and it's on those that they consistently come out tops as compared to all other countries in the world. Clearly, they must be doing something, maybe even everything, very right. I know, educational reform is not yet happening here like it did in Finland. I'm going to say not even close. So what are we to do? How can we, parents, educators, coaches, and mentors, help foster the natural learning ability of the young humans in our care? Well, we can do the same kinds of things that they do in the public schools in Finland. Things they do because it's based on decades of research into how children learn best. First, allow children as much time as possible to play. Research shows time and time again that play is necessary for all mammalian growth and development, and particularly so for we humans. Try not to overschedule with extracurriculars. Make time also for free play, and if possible, with multi-aged peers. Free play for human growth and development, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have, not only for our physical and mental health, but also to maximize and consolidate our amazing learning abilities. Secondly, help children and teens to engage with the real world out there when not in school. Allow them to mix and mingle and interact with the multi-age, diverse community members with you when younger. Take them out on errands or volunteering with you. Chat with them as you do. Let them see you engage with real-world activities so that they can learn from them, because they won't get the chance to in school. And by this, I don't mean forced engagement. It's enough for children to repeatedly be around these real-world activities because over time, they will absorb them like the little social learning sponges that they are. Thirdly, allow youth to explore their interests, whatever that may be. Yep, from Beanie Boos to gaming to music to dance to sports to superheroes to fairies to whatever. What they are interested in isn't the point. The fact that they are interested in it is. When a child is allowed to fully explore an interest, they will flex their lateral, creative thinking, problem-solving abilities in a way like no adult-initiated activity possibly could. When a child, or person of any age for that matter, is interested in something, intrinsic motivation kicks in, paving the way for lasting and meaningful learning opportunities. They will research the best ways to evade mob attacks in Minecraft. They will collaborate in real time or online with people with similar interests and goals. Parachutes for Beanie Boos and endless iterations of homemade Wolverine claws allow for intellectual risk-taking in the form of trial and error, lateral thinking, creative thinking, and problem-solving abilities. Traits that researchers have associated with genius, and abilities that we are all born with. And finally, help children and teens to see failure as an opportunity to learn, not something to be avoided. We all fail, or at least do pretty badly when we're first trying to learn something new. Babies and toddlers totally get this. In fact, watching a baby learn to walk is one of the earliest indicators of tolerance of failure. I mean, they quite literally fall flat on their face, repeatedly. Ever seen a baby say, forget this is too hard, I'm packing it in, I'm just gonna crawl everywhere from now on? No, they persist in the face of repeated failure, and they achieve. An unfortunate side effect of mainstream public schooling is that children come to see failure as something to be avoided. That failure makes them wrong somehow. Help them see that isn't the case. Let them see you fail at something new you're trying to learn. Help them get back to that innate understanding they had as babies and toddlers. And perhaps, while you're at it, help yourselves get back to that same tolerance for failure so that you too can realize more of your full learning potential. So we are left with a paradox, but a hopeful one. We humans who've created the biggest problems of our time, war, poverty, racism, pollution, and a whole host of social injustices, also have within us the amazing intellect and collaborative abilities to meet these challenges head-on and solve them. We simply need to create learning environments that allow us the latitude to put our minds to the tasks, the many tasks that lay ahead of us. And you can help create those kinds of learning environments for the children in your care by maximizing and making time for free play, by facilitating both engagement with the real world and fully exploring interests, and helping to reframe failure as an opportunity to learn. Just think of all we've accomplished over the millennia. There is nothing, if we put our hearts and minds to, we can't achieve. No problem we can't solve. Our entire evolutionary history is testament to this. I mean, if we could figure out how to live here, oops, that was backwards. Here. If we could figure out how to live here, we can certainly figure out the answers to any of the problems that we will encounter as a species, especially the ones we've created ourselves. It's not overstating to say that our future and that of our planet very much relies on us being able to adapt and problem solve in the way that has stood humanity so well in the past. So let's create learning environments for children that maximize and leverage these spectacular intellectual learning abilities, rather than hinder them. Our survival, quite literally, depends on it. Thank you.